Today's guest is Hayley Honeyman, a YouTube creator whose channels took off when she stopped trying to be the perfect educator and started being 100% herself.
I have always been the overachiever. I've always been the person that's never satisfied. And I had this realization and mental shift that was, you're not happy like doing it this way. Why would you continue doing it like this?
She has almost 300,000 YouTube subscribers, and her channel is dedicated for adults with ADHD. What drew you to talking about this topic of neurodivergence on YouTube?
The biggest thing at the time was that there were very, very few people talking about it. And I'm like, I want something relatable. I want to be able to see myself on YouTube. I have a genuine interest in the people that follow me and interact with me.
In this video, we unpack her growth strategy, how YouTube has changed her life, and how she's monetized her channel without losing authenticity.
I built this community of ADHD creators specifically that we all very openly talked to each other and said, I've worked with this brand, this is how much I made. The best month I ever had in business, I think I made like $35,000, and it was incredible.
If you're looking for some inspiration and tactical advice that you can apply to your YouTube channel to help it grow, then you are not going to want to miss this interview. Hi, my name is Erika Vieira. I'm a YouTube strategist, producer, and coach to nearly 2,000 women creators. This is real talk for women who want to win on YouTube. Busting myths, preventing burnout, and creating revenue. For more information about me and how I work with people like you, check out the links in the description below. Ladies, class is in session. What drew you to talking about this topic of neurodivergence on YouTube?
I think, honestly, the biggest thing at the time was that there were very, very few people talking about it. At the time, it was really just Jessica McCabe from How to ADHD. And otherwise, there wasn't really any discussions. It was just like educational content. And I'm like, I want something relatable. I want to be able to see myself on YouTube, which, you know, I'm obsessed with YouTube. I like nonstop am watching. So I think the biggest driving force was just seeking creators like myself and not finding any. And so like, oh, I'll be that person for myself and for other people.
Did you have any background in filming or editing or anything before getting onto YouTube?
Yeah, I did. Actually, I was a professional editor prior to doing it myself. I was doing a lot of editing and videography for realtors, which would never do that again, ever.
Why? Why?
I loved the video editing portion, but man, realtors, the ones that I worked with at the very least, were interesting.
Demanding?
Very, very. So it was nice to kind of shift into just creating my own content and being able to do it more just for fun at the time instead of, having somebody nitpicking so detail oriented on every single thing you're doing and not understanding too the background of how much editing goes into something. You know, they'd ask to like, oh, can you fix this one thing? And I'm like, oh, that's going to take me 3 hours. That's awesome. But okay, I'll fix it.
True. So did you start your YouTube channel while you were still working in editing for real estate agents as like a side hustle? Or how did you go from doing this real estate thing to being a full-time YouTube content creator?
Yeah, I had done a couple of my own videos here or there just for fun. And then I actually ended up doing short form content first. So on Instagram and on Shorts, and my content started blowing up there. And I was getting requests from people saying, hey, we want longer form videos. I'm like, great. I've always wanted to do longer form videos. I didn't realize that people wanted that though. And so then I started making it there. So at that time, I was already doing full-time content creation, but just short form content. And then I transitioned into YouTube as well, which I think for a lot of people is actually backwards. I think a lot of people do long form and then do short form, but I was the opposite.
And how many followers did you have on those short form platforms?
By the time that I was posting on YouTube, probably around 100,000 on like Instagram. I think that's when I kind of made the shift.
And you were able to have a full-time income from that 100K on Instagram?
I was partially doing sponsorships and stuff, but I was also doing ADHD and autism coaching. And that was a big portion of where my income came as well, was working one-on-one with people.
And for now, because you have quite a large, decent sized YouTube channel, income-wise, where would you say that it falls as far as like that coaching? Are you still doing the coaching? Is that still a significant part of your income, or has it changed now that you have more of a presence on YouTube?
Yeah, I actually had this like long pause in my YouTube career. You will see that there's like a year where I just kind of stopped posting as frequently and I was doing other full-time work adjacent to what I was doing. But yeah, I was able to have full-time work from like sponsorships and stuff. And now a lot of my income, ironically, is YouTube. And my YouTube long form content doesn't even necessarily get that huge of views, but the watchers, the people that are watching and the community I've built are so dedicated that they're really highly engaged, which is awesome. And so a lot of my income right now is from YouTube. But I do still do the coaching because one, I love talking with people. And
Yeah.
I don't know, when you're a YouTuber, you're kind of just in your own world and not
Mhm.
necessarily working with other people.
Yeah.
And I find that my content is better when I'm talking with people one on one and hearing what are people struggling with at this point in life right now. And
Mhm.
it always sparks new ideas. So I balance both, but YouTube is definitely right now my biggest income source.
And by what, when you say biggest income source, is it the
Mhm.
AdSense? Is it the brand collaboration? Is it affiliates?
It's it's almost entirely the sponsorships and the brand
Mm.
collaborations and affiliates and things.
Mhm.
Um, we've really picked up traction in the last few months, especially. Um, it's been really nice. I've been enjoying it more too, which is helpful. I do get like AdSense, but it's definitely not large enough to sustain
Sustain.
me. So like the sponsorships are necessary, but I am so picky with who we work with. Like so picky. It has to be something that I use personally, that I endorse in my day-to-day life. And we do a lot of background checks on the companies we're working with. We want to work with sustainable companies and, inclusive companies. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of nitpicking that happens with the people we end up working with.
Do you have a manager?
I have an assistant
Okay.
who manages all of my like partnerships and deals and stuff.
So
Mhm.
your deals then and partnerships are coming directly to you.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get
Okay.
probably like 30 emails a day from people wanting to work with me, and like 90% of them suck.
Yeah. Yeah.
90% of them are like really scammy or just don't align with kind of what I'm about. But there definitely are a few sponsorships that like we have personally reached out to because it's something that I
It aligns so
like,
much.
yeah, use really, really frequently or just like really, really believe in.
What is your idea of the perfect sponsor?
Mm. Oh, such a good question. The perfect sponsor for me is a brand and a company that is neurodivergent friendly. And it is so easy to say that, but it's a way different thing to actually be that, meaning their communication style aligns with us. They're flexible and able to like adjust as I feel necessary because my energy levels and my disabilities will show up. And like all of a sudden, I can't post this sponsorship this week because of XYZ. And so, brands that are really flexible and very good at getting back to us at a reasonable time. And then the ones that don't just, again, say that they're neurodivergent friendly, but actually practice it outwardly to their customers and their community and do it in their day to day. So, that's like number one what I tend to look for when I'm working with the
It's
company.
so hard to know that though.
It
Like, how do you
is.
know if a company's reaching out to you, unless it's like, we're an app for people that are neurodivergent, like, how do you know that
Mhm.
is it like you kind of take a chance on them? And if they are neurodivergent friendly, then you work with them again? Like, how do you filter
Yeah.
that out?
Well, number
'Cause I think
one,
everybody would want
yeah.
that, right? Like a brand that doesn't jerk you around and it can be
Yeah.
flexible.
I think the biggest thing is I test everything that I use in sponsorships. So every single thing I have ever promoted, I have used for a minimum of 3 months because
Mm.
I need to like strongly believe in something. And within those 3 months, is this brand pressuring me? Is this brand getting, a little too intense with me? Or are they like open to feedback and hearing suggestions? Because that's also something I'm really passionate about is saying like, hey, this doesn't work for me. And having brands, and I'm going to name drop one right now.
I was
Like,
actually gonna ask you, are there any
yeah,
brands that, like, you have felt like, "Oh my god, this is exactly how they act?"
Yeah, the best one in recent days that I can talk about is Headspace, the
Mm-hmm.
meditation app.
Uh-huh.
They have been incredible to work with. They were so aligned. They were really like gentle in their approach with me, which was so nice. They asked for feedback, which I love. And I was able to say, like, as an autistic person, it'd be great to have a meditation specifically for when I'm coming into a meltdown. That would be great. And they were
They're
like,
like, yeah,
we love
yeah,
that. Let us
yeah,
look into it.
yeah.
So it was really, really nice to
That's
work with
cool.
a brand that like cares.
Hmm. Yeah. And so when you find a brand that cares, is your goal then to try and have that long-term relationship with them?
Yeah, it's definitely the long-term relationship. We do tend to like, right now book up our sponsorships like 2 months in advance, just kind of where we're at this moment. And so I always make sure to prioritize my favorite brands in that time. But I also want to give opportunities to brands that like are lesser known or I haven't worked with, and I'm interested in hearing what my community's feedback is too, because I do notice that there are certain brands that my community is like, we love this thing. And I'm like, okay, I need to do more of that because clearly it's super helpful for the people that are actually watching my content and engaging with me.
So without Hayley, without a manager, then how do you determine what your rate is?
That is such a good question. This is one of the hardest parts of
Yeah.
being a content creator. Part of what's helpful is that in one of the things that I did during that year where I kind of had a small hiatus from YouTube, I worked and did brand collaborations with creators, and I was managing them and was able to like work directly with them for a company. And it really helped me as a creator myself to see the scope of people's rates. My biggest
That is
thing,
really helpful. That's like a
super helpful.
better look. So
Yeah.
as like a side hustle or thing you did on your break
Mhm.
is you worked for a management company or you worked for one brand?
One
Okay.
brand specifically.
Okay.
And it was great because we also, a lot of my background is also in marketing, and that's a
Mhm.
huge part of what I've learned about. And so being able to say, like, okay, I understand that as a brand, what I care about is I need people to click and purchase. That is the
Yeah.
biggest thing. That's
Yes.
my driving metric. And
Yes.
so I always ask brands as well, how did we perform? What did we do?
Mhm.
What was the
Mhm.
feedback that I'm getting? And, there's been certain brands that are saying to me, like, whoa, you got this many clicks. And I'm like, great, I'm charging you more next time.
Well, have you ever found so it's funny actually one of my clients literally just got a because I produce
Mm,
YouTube channels and so she
yeah.
just got a opportunity with Headspace. So I think that's funny. I'll
Mhm.
tell her I was like, guess what? They're really easy to work with.
Yeah.
But have you found that sometimes brands aren't always forthcoming with that information?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
There are some that really try to hide how beneficial you
Yes.
are to them. And like there was a company early in my career that really took advantage of me. And I had no understanding of like how massively helpful I was for them as a brand and how much money they were making off of my content.
Mhm.
And it didn't become super apparent until I started refusing work with them. Like I was saying, I don't want to keep going. And their offer kept going up and up and up. And at a certain
Wow.
point, and I always tell people this because I think it's so interesting, at a certain point, they offered me $10,000 for one Instagram reel. And I was
And
like,
where did you start with them?
we started with them as an affiliate. And so I was only making about 15% of every sale that I was doing with them. And I ended up stopping working with them because they were a shady company. I was desperately trying to help them and give them
Mm.
support.
Yeah.
And later, like after I stopped working with them, they actually got investigated by the like DOA and stuff. And it was crazy. So
Yeah.
they are like not a good company. And I'm so
Yeah.
glad I stopped working with them. But I then, saw other creators working with them and I'm like, oh, I know you're making so much money from them, but they're such a bad company. So
So what did you do when they offered you 10K for an Instagram reel?
that was so hard because at that time, especially, this was right near the start of my career. Like that was like life-changing money for me.
Yeah. Did you turn it down?
I did turn it down.
You
Yeah.
did. So you turned down a 10K deal
Yeah.
for
Turned
a
down
reel, not even a full length YouTube video.
for a real. And I like they continued to come back to me every month with that kind of a rate. And I just continued to say no. And like I've had really, really high deals come through to me, and I am so like I feel morally obligated to look after my community, especially because so much of my community is autistic. We are so easily manipulated and we are so easily taken advantage of that I don't want to put that in front of my audience. I want them to know that I have tested and I believe in everything that I'm putting out there.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
What is the highest that you've ever gotten paid from a brand?
It would have been that brand. I think probably the last video I did for them was around 8,500, I think was the last piece of content I did for them. Yeah.
Wow. So this is so interesting. So going back to the question about the rates, then what advice would you give this is a question that I get asked all the time from people, but I'm not necessarily like, I'm in that world because I work with so many creators and I see what they're getting from brands. But what would you tell a creator, like if they're kind of doing well with views and they're starting to get some brands reaching out to them? What would be their first step in trying to figure out what the brand, like what their rate is without coming across as overly greedy and like having no idea what they're doing, or without like being completely taken advantage of?
Yeah, totally. I think one of the best things that I ever did was talk to other creators. Right early, very, very, very early in my career, I built this community of ADHD creators specifically that we all very openly talked to each other and said, I've worked with this brand, this is how much I made. And it was so helpful. And I had one specific creator, Matt Rakelboom, who kind of took me under his wing. So forever thankful for him. And he kept saying to me, you need to up your rates. Like, I don't know what you're doing, like up your rates. And I'm like, but I feel bad doing that. Like, that doesn't feel good. And he's like, they don't care.
They don't care.
They don't care.
Like why do you feel bad? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I've also learned now, and I tell this to smaller creators as well, is that if a brand is offering you an amount, it is the amount that they think they can get away with, not their capped amount. And so whatever they come to you first, always counter offer and then see where it can go from there.
Yeah. I always say that because I see it on my end, and there are so many times they'll come to me and be like, what do you think about this? You know, they want to pay me like 1,500. I'm like, oh my God, you're getting 10,000 views that you minimum. That's not if it doesn't go viral. Like, no, you need to ask for more. But here's the thing and Hayley, I'm curious kind of your thoughts on this.
Yeah.
You have to be okay with walking away though.
Yes.
And I think there's power in that.
Yes, you absolutely do. The amount of times that I've walked away from a deal and had them crawling back the next month is insane. Like, it happens all the time. And so I constantly tell people, like, you putting that out there is not you closing the door to every opportunity. It's you actually kind of allowing yourself to accept better opportunities coming into you.
Have you walked away from a deal that you kind of like regretted giving too high of a rate and they never crawled back to you?
You know, funnily enough, I don't think so, because anytime that there's been a brand that I'm like, I have to work with them, I love them, I'll accept a smaller rate. Like, I will reduce my rate quite low for brands that are smaller, but I really believe in them. And so there's never been a time that I'm like, oh, I should have just accepted that, because if I really believed in it, I'll make it work.
Yeah. And in those cases where you had a lower rate, were you successfully able to negotiate some terms that were more favorable, maybe like a higher commission split, or maybe like an increased rate, or maybe a package?
Yeah, a lot of the times, like, one of the companies that I have worked with almost for the longest is a company called AccuFlow, and they do like a calendar type thing that's I literally use every single day. And our first partnership was quite a low rate, but I was using it every day. So I was like, I love this. I want to do it.
It's so natural. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're one of the easiest companies to work with, and they're constantly coming back, and they're so open to my rate increasing because clearly the videos are doing well and like my community loves them. And so definitely if I start at a lower rate, I always try to go back, and again, I always ask for feedback. How did this go? What are you seeing? Like, what were my clicks? All of those things, to kind of justify, like, let's work again together and let's try this higher rate and see how that goes.
So you do talk a lot about, but this is still kind of on the topic of brand deals, because I just know that these questions come up so much. But I'm so interested with your perspective, because you do talk about, productivity, with ADHD, being neurodivergent. How one of the things I know with creators that gets really overwhelming is working with brands, because, and then you kind of touched on this, like they have to be kind of friendly to the neurodivergence, but still there is still like a level of responsibility of like, okay, am I getting it right? Okay, they want it now. Like, how do you manage your own workflow with having these brand deals being a significant portion of your income on YouTube?
Yeah, this is one of the biggest things that my assistant deals with for me, because I hate emails. I hate doing back and forths. Like, it is the bane of my existence, and I'm horrible at it. I'm so bad at it. And so we have created this workflow that is so helpful. She gets a certain portion of commission for the brand deals as well. And so she has a lot of drive to do
Yes.
well on these.
Yeah, she's incentivized. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then we have this workflow where she makes it very clear, like, what are the deliverables? What is expected of me? What's my due date? She puts it always in my calendar. We talk about it. I see her in person twice a week, and we're just constantly like on top of it. And so it's very, very helpful that like 85% of it is delegated to her. And the last like 15% is literally just me scripting, filming, editing, sending it to her. And that is the only portion of brand deals that I pretty much ever really am involved in.
That's really great. So how did you find her?
Yeah, I actually ended up posting on my story, the like listing onto my Instagram story, that I was looking for an assistant. And she was somebody that I worked with in the past, and I had been her manager when we were much younger. And it was like so random. And I'm like, I know I like you. I know you work well with me. And I know that I can manage you because I've done it before. And we've now been working together almost 2 years, and it's been great.
So does she work with you full time?
She works part-time with me, and then has another part-time job as well. And it just, allows some balance for both of us. Yeah.
Great. And is she the only person on your team, or do you have anybody else on your team that helps you out with any aspect of your content creation business?
The only other is like I have an accountant, bookkeeping, that is all dealt with again. My existence. So someone else has to do that.
Oh, that when you talk about bane of existence. Woo,
yeah.
Girl, like yes.
Yeah. So then I have him, and then I always joke that my therapist is a part of my team, because without her, I cannot function. And so that is my 3-person additional team.
So do you do your own editing?
Yeah, I do all my own editing. Yeah.
Oh, wow. All right. I want to talk about that, but I do have another question about the brand deals. Are you familiar, and this is new, so I'm curious to see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the new feature with the dynamic ads on YouTube?
I am. I've seen it. I've not like even touched it at this point.
Do you have access to it yet?
No,
Yeah,
I haven't.
most channels I don't think.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that? Because it is really interesting that now you're going to, effectively, it's like you can almost sell time, as opposed to a brand living on your video forever, which kind of is like a great deal for a brand, right? Especially like a video goes viral,
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Or have you thought about how you might be negotiating with brands when that time comes and it's rolled out?
Yeah, I honestly, truth be told, don't really know, because I right now just love how much control I have over who is being presented on my channel. Like, that just means a lot to me. So I'm not sure. I like the workflow that I'm in right now. And like, my goal, honestly, is not to be making so much money that like, my goals are never financial. My goals are always like freedom. That's always what I'm looking for. And so I'm at a place right now where I feel a lot of that freedom, and I'm like, I don't really have to grow. Like, maybe I can just be here and stay here for a while, and that's okay. And so it's not been a huge thing on my mind, because I'm not necessarily in like growth mindset hustle right now.
Yeah. Well, and that makes a lot of sense. Sometimes there's like seasons for that, and there's seasons where like, oh, I've worked really hard. Like, let me just enjoy it.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's definitely the season that I'm in right now, especially since I just had a double knee reconstructive surgery.
Double knee.
Double knee. So I am not like super mobile. What's that?
At the same time. At the same
time. Yeah.
Wow.
So
I know some people that have double knee, but they kind of try and do it at different surgeries so that they're not
Yeah.
debilitated.
Yeah, we essentially had to do it at once because
Mm.
I had to take a graft from one of my knees and put it in the other one. So
Wow.
it ended up being complicated, but it kind of means right now that everything in my business has like stopped except for
Mm.
YouTube. It is the one
Mm.
thing that I'm doing every week because it's something that I can sustain right now. Um, and it's just like this nice feeling of like, oh, I don't have to stress. Like I can just make fun, creative videos and like be silly and educational and like show up for my audience. And I have worked so hard to be able to do that, that now I'm just like allowing myself to coast for a little while.
How happy are you that you started a YouTube channel then?
Oh my God. So, so happy. And there are like old videos of me. Oh man. I always joke that if people really care about my content, they should go back to the first videos I ever made because they are horrific.
Yeah.
And I like thinking back to that version of myself. Oh, she would just be flabbergasted that this is what I'm doing. And I still struggle to call myself a YouTuber. Like that's
Mhm.
not even a term that I use for myself because I
Mhm.
can't believe it. Because I've always wanted to be that. And so it's like weird to be living it, you know?
So as somebody who started off with short form
Yeah.
and ended up now kind of being like a YouTuber, right? And like you
Yeah.
said, that's primarily what you do. What would you tell people that are on short form and they look at YouTube and they're like, "Oh, that's kind of like another shining object. Should I do it? Should I not?"
Mhm.
Like, what are your thoughts for that person that just isn't fully convinced that the short form is all there is for them, but a little bit scared to get onto YouTube?
Yeah, I was definitely in that exact same space. I think my biggest fear was, especially after I started posting my first few long form videos, the views were not the same for me at all. And that terrified me. Um, and what I realized was they're not supposed to be, they're not comparable. And so I would like push a person and kind of say that don't expect the same thing, but have fun with it and like do it as a creative outsource for a while. Don't necessarily have a huge expectation of what comes back because if you're having fun and you're just creating what you want to create, you'll get out of it what you're hoping to get out of it, you know? Mhm.
Yeah, I do. And like, when it comes to where you're at right now
Mhm.
with like this feeling of, in some ways, like peace and freedom,
Yeah.
what specific, like very specific decisions that you made in your journey have allowed you to be in that space right now?
Man, going back to the therapist, this is like so much mental work I have
Yeah.
had to do to get here because and this is super common in especially ADHD women that are late diagnosed, is I have always been the overachiever. I've always been the person that's never satisfied. And the last like year and a half was probably the hardest year and a half I had in terms of like this intensity I was working at. And I was put like doing 12-hour days and I was just burning myself out and I was constantly in meltdowns or crying and like going to therapy more often. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And I had this realization and mental shift that was, you're not happy like doing it this way. Why would you continue doing it like this? And I had to shed this expectation of myself that was, you need to be better than every version of yourself that has existed. And I kind of had to have this just acceptance of like,
Yeah.
I am good enough. This is
Mm.
okay. Like, I
Mhm.
can just be and not tying my worth to my productivity and instead
Mm.
tying my worth to my relationships and like my real world outside of work life has become
Mhm.
so much more of a priority to me. And I think that balance has one allowed me to actually create better content because I'm
Mhm.
just more creatively open and free now. And two, it has also allowed me to like accept this kind of abundance in my life without, wanting to.
Working so hard for it in a way.
Exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. So I'm not working 12-hour days anymore. I don't remember the last time I worked a 12-hour day because I don't function in like a 9 to 5. So what made me think I could function 12-hour days constantly, you know?
That's true. So what have you so how did you really do that? Is it the help of your therapist and like talking it through, or how did you, that is a hard thing. And I have found, especially in this world, like especially the people that are successful, content creation, being an influencer, being an online content creator. I mean, it is kind of like a 24/7 thing. Like a lot of people just, it's very hard to turn off. And I do think it attracts a certain type of person. And that person is a very hard worker, a hustler, somebody that's like constantly being like, I need to do this, I need to do that. They're disappointed in themselves that they don't get the views. How do you change that mindset? Because that's a hard thing to turn off.
I think the biggest part of it was that I made my priority my life outside of work, and kind of found like, if I'm not going to put all of this hyperactivity for me as like being an ADHDer into work, how can I put that into my life? And so I've started dedicating more time into my hobbies and into my social life, and like feeling just an intense abundance there. So I didn't have to make up for it in work. And I was able to just leave a work day feeling I got what I needed to get done. Now I get to have an amazing evening or afternoon or whatever it is, because it's all filled up with all of the wonderful aspects of life. So there's just like this perfect balance that I've created.
That's really cool.
Mhm.
And are you finding that letting things go, has that negatively impacted your business as far as like output or revenue or anything
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was a certain point where I think like the best month I ever had in business, I think I made like $35,000, and it was
Ooh.
incredible. And I'm like, oh, I can do this forever. But
Yeah.
when I reflect on it, like that money was great,
Mm-hmm.
but I wasn't happy, and I was burnt out, and I was upset, and I was dysregulated, and like the content I was creating, I wasn't even happy with either. Like all aspects of it were negative except for the money. And
Mm-hmm.
so now I look at, I am making enough to sustain the life I'm like pursuing, as well as save for the life I want in the future.
Mm-hmm.
That is enough. That is good enough. And I've just kind of like, I made a priority for my financials this year, and being able to sit down and be able to say, this is enough, because I have the data telling me it's enough.
Yeah. So how do you manage, and maybe you don't do a lot of it, but I know we started the conversation when you mentioned that you also do an element of ADHD coaching and all that. So how do you manage that? Because I mean, that's what I do, is I do a lot of like YouTube coaching. That's kind of like, I'd say 80% of my time is like producing and YouTube, the coaching aspect of it. So how do you manage that from like an organizational perspective, but also where does that fit into your overall kind of like, part of your day or week?
I have like 3 dedicated days for coaching and a certain time block that's
Is that a
available.
week or a month, or how
In
does?
a week, in a
Okay.
week, yeah. And so, and I have like a reduced number of clients. Like I only work with up to like, depending on the season of life, I either have like 5 clients up to like 10 is kind of
Mhm,
the cap that I've been at.
mhm,
But then I just have like very specific periods of time, like my Monday afternoons and my mornings on Thursdays, and then my Saturday mornings. Those are my coaching times. And it feels
mhm.
really good to just be like,
That's
that's it.
it.
That's all I have to do. There it is. And the other
Mhm.
days are like, oh, I get to be creative. I get to do the YouTube stuff. I get to make content that's short form or posts or whatever it is. And having that like clear boundary around it is super,
Mhm.
super helpful.
And so your clients know that if they wanna book a time with you or call with you, those are the only available times?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm,
Well,
mhm.
that's cool. And so how much of your overall time then is spent doing the coaching versus, like, the creative stuff?
Right now, it's probably 25% of my
Mhm,
time is going towards coaching. I don't have many clients right now, and that was very
mhm.
intentional with this
Yeah.
season. But I suspect like come the new year, that'll probably bump up, because there's just periods of time where I'm like, have more energy and like want
Mhm.
to do more. And so that will likely happen. And then the rest is creative work.
Yeah, and is your assistant helping to manage the booking and the clients that way, or does she really only just do the brand deals?
She mainly does the brand deals and then life things for me. So she helps like
Mhm.
come and do life stuff. Like she'll grocery
Oh,
shop.
she's there in person?
She will be in here in person twice a week. And then
Oh,
the other
wow.
days she's all virtual. So we get like a nice balance of both. But
Yeah,
the
that's
coaching
cool.
stuff, like there's so little that needs to be done,
Mhm.
because if I post about it at all, the spots are booked through my website, and my website manages all of it. And then my accountant gets all of it. And like,
Yeah.
it's kind of all done for me. And the system is super easy. I think the only piece that she helps with is like sending off the first like welcome form, and that's it. Otherwise it's so clean. The system is so easy and manageable. So
That's good. So you don't interact with them outside of the calls. It's up to them. You book a call, here are the times, and that if they want to come back or do another one, it's there for them, and then that's it.
Yeah, I used to do like discovery calls, and then I just was burning out on just doing discovery calls, and like a lot of them would end up booking and be clients, but it was just so much of my time. And I'm like, you know what? The people that know me from my content know what I'm like, so they can decide from that. I don't need to meet with them first.
I was literally going to say that. I was like, long form videos, like that's your discovery call. Like that's it. You're putting all that work and energy into that like someone will know right away, especially if they binge your videos, if they vibe with you. And so is that your number one traffic source to your coaching, is your YouTube channel? And are you deliberate about it? Like, do you talk about it in every video, or do you say, you know what, I have some room, let me talk about it in this video?
Yeah, it's so funny. I've only just started noticing that YouTube is the main source of clients. Prior to that, it's all been Instagram, and I would just post on my story and just say, hey, coaching slot has opened up, and then it'd probably be filled like pretty quickly. And now I'm noticing when I talk to people when they first come into a session, they're like, I watch your YouTube videos. And I'm like, that's so weird to me. Like that's still, I haven't digested that fully still, but it is becoming like the main source of my coaching clients.
Oh, that's so cool. And one question I did have about the brand deals that I had before and I forgot was, do you have like rules around how many videos a month or a week that you do with brand deals? Because I know with some people I work with, they're like, I want every video to have a brand deal. Other people are like, no, I need at least one every other that doesn't have it. So I've heard a lot of people kind of have their own rules around that. What is it for you?
I am open to a brand deal every video. That is something that I'm like totally fine with. And I'm also super okay with there's not one. Like I'm just like very much what is meant to be will be. And so like if I have one for every video, I'm happy with that. I try not to set too harsh of rules, because I also know for videos that I don't have a brand deal, I also have courses and program offerings that people can do. And so in the videos that I don't promote something else, I'll promote my business and my things. So I feel very like open to whatever.
And how do you integrate that brand in your video? Is there thought into like, okay, this is a product about XYZ, so I should really make the video around this so it's like seamless? Or is it more of like a commercial? Like, what have you found is the best way to do that?
It really depends on the brand. Like there are certain brands that like, I mean, Headspace is a great example that when they came to me, it kind of sparked this idea in my head of like, oh, I should do a video about being dysregulated and how to regulate, because that is how this company helps me. And so the video in some way ended up a lot being about this brand, even though they had a 90-second segment that was it. So it really, really depends. And other brands, like AccuFlow is one that, you know, I work with them so frequently that at this point, like when their ad slot comes up, it doesn't even matter what the video is about, because people love it no matter what. And people know it now because I talk about it so frequently. So it just kind of depends.
We've talked a lot about brand deals in this interview. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you feel like creators should really know when it comes to either like negotiating with brands, maybe finding, we didn't really talk about like you actually actively pitching brands. I know you touched on that. So is there anything that we didn't, that you feel like people should know?
Yeah, I think the two biggest things for newer creators is don't be afraid to say no. I think that's a huge one. A lot of the times when you're a newer creator, it feels like I have to say yes to every opportunity or I'm going to miss out. And the other thing is like, do not be afraid to ask to test the product or whatever it is. Like I get sent a lot of products to test them. And there's a lot of times that I go, this actually doesn't work for me. You know, like an example of that is I had a company that sent me supplements and I was like, okay, I'm going to try these out, see how they feel. And I realized very quickly that I actually don't like taking pills if I don't need to take pills. And so I reached out to them and said, hey, I realized this thing about me. If you guys ever have an alternative, like let me know. And they just recently sent me like a protein powder. And I'm like, great, that's exactly what I wanted as an outcome. Whereas if I had started promoting like this supplement, it wouldn't have been true to who I was and wouldn't be authentic. And so definitely for other creators, like test it out. See if you actually like it or use it. I think it's, I hate when I can tell that a creator is promoting something that they don't even use. And it's like,
Mhm.
why would I use it then? Why would
Yeah,
I believe your testimony about this?
exactly. And is there, given that you have experience like working on the brand side and then
Yeah.
also working on the influencer side, do you think that there is a certain view count per video where creators
Mhm.
have more leverage to maybe walk away knowing that the brand will come back or negotiate a little bit more?
You'd be so surprised. Like, we have worked with really small creators when I worked with that company. And it was like some of their videos performed way better than these like massive creators. And I always tell people your following number doesn't matter at all. It is entirely like your views and your engagement. And, I'm a creator who I think I have a lot of followers on, subscribers or followers or whatever it is. My engagement level is very, very high, but in small numbers. So if I were to show someone like, hey, this video only got 30,000 views or whatever, but these people are engaged because there are so many comments, there's so many shares, there's so many reposts. Like I can show a brand that my audience is really engaged. Whereas there are creators I had worked with in the past who had 500,000 followers, but no comments on their videos and like people just didn't care. And so, yeah, it's definitely like your community matters more than anything.
Yeah, and that's a big thing about YouTube. I think that really
Mhm.
is stronger than the other platforms, is the
Yeah.
ability to really create a very strong community.
Absolutely.
So,
Mhm.
and then when you've pitched brands, like you've mentioned that there's brands out there that you would like to work with that don't
Yeah.
necessarily reach out to you. How
Mhm.
how do you approach pitching those brands?
It does depend on the brand, but I have a great example was I posted a video, and this is TMI, and a lot of my videos are TMI, but I posted a video about struggles with hygiene and pooping. And everyone in the comments were like, you need a bidet, you need a bidet, you need a bidet. And somebody tagged a brand and
Good.
that brand like liked the comment. And I'm like, I'm going to reach out to them. And so I
Yeah,
sent them a
yeah.
little DM and was just like, hey, would love to work with you. Like, let me try it out. And they sent me the product. I tried it out for a bit and I'm like, I love it. Can we work together? So
Yes.
a lot of the times there's like organic things that happen like that.
Yeah.
Other times I will just DM a brand that I like and essentially say, I love what you guys do. I use your products or I use your service. Can you send us over an email? I would love to work with you. And oftentimes that starts the conversation enough that we're then able to
Mhm.
kind of figure out like if they have even capacity for a partnership.
Yeah, are some of these brands that work with other creators, or are they just brands that maybe don't even
Mm.
do that?
Yeah, yeah. There are like there are like really tiny brands that I've reached out to that I'm just like, I just love what you're doing and I just want to like post about you.
Mm,
Send me your stuff. And
yeah.
then they will, which is great.
Wow.
Like there's even like a somewhat local hotel inn type thing near me. And I reached out to them, was like, this looks fun and I want to go there. And they're like, great,
Mhm.
we don't really work with creators, but like, come, let's
Yeah,
do it. And I'm like, okay,
yeah.
cool. So I'm also open to like doing gifted type things if I like the products and I'll just post on my story about them
Mhm.
because I do believe in like sharing genuine, authentic experiences.
Yeah, that's cool.
Hmm.
So how do you balance, being authentic on camera and then that business side of like working with brands and making the brands happy?
Yeah, I think, funnily enough, like how I show up in my content is how I show up in life and it's how I show up in business. I am a no bullshit person. Like I am just very who I am. And so, my assistant is the business person. She's the person that will be professional and do all of those things. But if a brand is talking to me, my expectation is that they know who I am and they know what to expect from a conversation with me. And so there's no like, yeah, differentiation for me between those two sides.
That's
Hmm.
great. And
Hmm.
how is creating content through a neurodivergent lens giving you an advantage on YouTube?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is that it is a autistic special interest of mine. I
Mhm.
love YouTube. I love content. I love creating. And so, I don't create a content schedule, for example, because I know that I'll be interested in making content throughout a week. And so it's helpful because I just constantly feel this desire to create. Whereas I've talked to many, many creators that are like, oh, I have to film today. I have to get this thing done today. And I'm like, I don't know that feeling because I just like love to do it. And so it's that intensity and like joy that comes from being autistic specifically and like being able to hyper focus on something because of my ADHD that allows me to like produce and create content that I feel proud of and like love.
And you kind of, maybe that is the answer because you kind of talked about it before, but maybe there's something else. On the flip side, how is it that makes it a little bit more of a struggle?
Yeah. It's the fact that like I am a disabled person, which is for the longest time was very hard for me to kind of admit as a overachiever. But there are times when I'm like, oh, my disability is disabling me and I need to full stop, pause everything I'm doing to take care of myself. Um, which just means that like there are times that, yeah, I don't post a certain week. Uh, last week I hadn't posted anything because of my knee surgery, which is another thing. But my community gets it, like because they are me in a lot of senses. So when I'm able to post about like a period of time where I'm struggling, or something's going on, like my community is so nice and they're so wonderful to be like, take your time, we'll be here when you get back, like whatever you need to do. And so it's really helpful to know that they get it.
And why do you think you have such a strong, loyal community?
I think it is I have a genuine interest in the people that follow me and interact with me. And so like I read every message I get. I will reply to as many as I possibly can. And I read every comment and like I'm very highly engaged because it matters to me what they're saying. And I think there are some creators out there who post content because they want the clout and because they want the income, but that's not why I'm doing it. Like I'm doing it because I love the community. And so I think it's just partially the reason, the why I'm doing it.
Yeah, and you just happen to be making money from it,
Yeah.
and that is what allows you to continue doing it
Yeah,
and giving you the space to
exactly.
do it. Yeah.
It's really a blessing, and all the time I'm pinching myself like, this is crazy. This is so wild.
Yeah. What do you see as, like, the future of just you in general? Like,
Mhm.
content, how content will fit in with your life? Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been talking about this more recently with people in my day to day life. I do suspect that I will have a 180 career shift at some point in the next 5 years. I could see myself dropping everything I'm doing and going and working at a bookshop. Like, I could see myself completely changing my life at some point, and I am just open to like listening to what I am feeling attuned to. I do think I will always be a creative. And so there's going to be some sort of creation happening in that time. But I'm totally open to this not being my full time thing in the future. And I'm okay with that. Like, for a long time, we're taught like find the career and do that forever.
Mhm.
And realizing, that I'm ADHD especially, I'm like, that's not how I work. Like I don't do the same thing over and over and over again. Like I really do just switch up all the time. So I'm open to that happening at some point and I'm kind of at peace with that.
And is there anything in the back of your mind that you've been like, maybe one day?
Honestly, like one of the bigger things is my dream in life more than anything is I want to be a mom. Like I want to have
Mhm.
kids and I want to
Mhm.
dedicate my life to like taking care of them and like having a family and focusing on that. Um and so I don't want to be a parent creator. I don't want to be a family vlog channel. I'm not
Yeah.
about that
Yeah,
life.
yeah.
So I think the biggest thing is like I love the coaching that I do and the programs I do. And I think that's something that could sustain me potentially through having a family and doing things like that and not having to
Mhm.
be online all the time.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on AI and how AI might impact or is impacting the creator economy and specifically YouTube?
Yeah. I mean, it's terrifying that there are like full AI videos now and they're so good at this point that like you can't even tell. So that's terrifying. And I already
Mhm.
talked about how so many autistic people are, easily fooled by
Yeah.
things. We're so trusting. We're very, very
Yeah.
trusting. And so it can be
Yeah.
really scary to have that out there. So that's a fear of mine. Also, obviously, the environmental impacts of AI are just like so awful. And my hope is that those change at some point soon because I think that there is a lot that AI can be doing for neurodivergent people and for me as a creator. It would be super helpful, but it's scary because it's just a lot of the unknown. And I think we're moving a lot faster than anybody really expected. Like the progressions we've made in the last like 5 years are unbelievable. So I think it's a lot of fear, honestly. And I don't think that's uncommon.
Oh no. I
Yeah.
mean, I think if you talk to most people,
Mhm.
and I think as creators are in this space, we're being impacted the most because I think that what's interesting is as I talk to other people that are not necessarily in this world, a lot of people still haven't even gone on to ChatGPT yet that are like in real more traditional jobs. But I think in this creator economy, we're seeing firsthand like how things can rapidly change with AI, and most of us are just not excited about it or ready for it. I think there's a group of people that are super excited about it because they're just going to be futurists anyways and go after any new technology. But when you talk to most people, at least I have a lot of these conversations, most people are terrified with it.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Like I
Mhm.
honestly, like one of my biggest fears, and I've heard this from other creators, is like the concept of deep fakes and like,
Oh, that's my
right?
number one. And honestly, I had this fear for years. When I first found out
Yeah.
about it, I refused to watch that freaking show, Black Mirror is the most, that is,
It's
talk about a
terrifying.
horror show. To me, that's a
Yeah.
horror show, is Black Mirror,
It's
anything about it. Deep fakes
yeah.
is terrifying in every
Mhm.
sense of the word because
Yeah.
they can take you and do anything. And
Yeah.
who there's no truth anymore. There's no real,
Yeah.
there's no reality. I agree.
Exactly.
Very
Yeah, and
scary,
as
very scary.
women, especially online, like
Mhm.
I've had stalker cases where I've actually had to go to the police and stuff and like have open cases because there are people out there that are terrifying, and the thought that this can just be so readily available to them to like take advantage of your image without any repercussions potentially
At this
is
point,
so
there
scary.
aren't any. Yeah.
Exactly. It's so scary, and so we're definitely in this period of time of like, wow, it's incredible what we're able to do, but also like, where are the limits? When does it end? Yeah.
And I think that's what we don't know, and it's like
Mhm.
hoping. I don't think most of us probably don't have any faith in the tech companies to do what's right, so it's like,
Like,
who's gonna be, managing that? Is it
totally.
government or laws? It's just, we have to trust the legal system that when lawsuits happen, that's when the protection's gonna happen, but I don't know, I agree. So are you using it at all in your own content and business?
Um, Not a ton. No, a lot of what I do, I really, really focus on. Again, I think for something to be authentic, it has to come from me.
Yeah.
The only times where I have found it helpful or necessary are on days where my executive functioning specifically is so low and I don't have accessible support with me. I have used like Chat GPT as like a helpful resource where I'm like, here are all the things I need to do. How do I do it? And just have
Yeah.
somebody else tell me what to do.
Mhm.
But there's so many alternatives to doing it. So right now it's not like a necessity for me. But yeah, I hope that there are just like better things put in place and it becomes more environmentally like sustainable because I do think it could be helpful. Mhm.
Well, Haley, this has been an amazing conversation. I've really enjoyed kind of digging in with you about the brand deals and just your own process and everything. And thank you so, so much. You have so much knowledge
Yeah.
that you were just willing to share. How can people find you if they're not
Mhm.
familiar with you and your content and what you do?
Yeah, I am pretty much everywhere at Hayley Honeyman. So you can find me on Instagram where I post much more frequently, but then on YouTube, Hayley Honeyman, and I post every Sunday. So there is a video there for you, I'm sure, queuing up.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm going to put all that in the description below. Thank you, Haley.
Thank you very much.
Bye.